Hey, I'm Kev here, Mr. Kerr, and welcome to Power Oversteer. And in today's episode, we're going to look back at an interesting start to the 2014 IndyCar Series season on the streets of Florida with the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And then we're going to look ahead to today's Grand Prix of Long Beach in California, and in the third round of the season at the picturesque Barber Motorsports Park with the Grand Prix of Alabama. But first, let's start with that review of St. Petersburg. So the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the now traditional IndyCar Series season opener, and on pole was Takuma Sato for AJ Foyt, with Tony Kanaan, the new boy at Chip Ganassi, alongside him. A very solid start to his career with the team. In third was 2012 champion Ryan Hunter-Reay, with Will Power alongside him, looking to grab his third win on the trot after winning the last two races of last season. In fifth was the reigning series champion Scott Dixon, with Marco Andretti alongside him in sixth. There was an all-rookie fourth row with impressive qualifying from Carlos Munoz for Andretti Autosport and Jack Hawksworth for Brian Herter Autosport. In ninth was Ryan Briscoe and another Chip Ganassi car, with last season's series runner-up Helio Castroneves in 10th for Penske. And in the back we saw some familiar names. In 18th was Juan Pablo Montoya for Penske on his return to open wheel competition. In 19th was last season's winner here, James Hinchcliffe, a shocking qualifying for the Andretti Autosport car. Charlie Kimball, a winner at Mid-Ohio last season, was 20th in the other Chip Ganassi machine. And on the back row was Graham Rahal in the now National Guard sponsored Rahal Letterman Lanigan car, with Joseph Newgarden for Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, the young American, alongside him in 22nd and last on the grid. And with the now single file restarts, with double file restarts abolished to history for the time being, we didn't see as much action as we have seen in the past couple of seasons at the start. But it was nice and clean, and that's nice to see, as Takuma Sato led the field away in the opening portion of the race. Behind him was Will Power, Helio Castroneves and Ryan Hunter-Reay, with Tony Kanaan dropping back slightly, and also Scott Dixon having a nice quiet run on the fringes of the top five. Further back we saw Newgarden start making some moves, and Rahal as well, with Sebastian Bourdais and Jack Hawksworth on rounding out the top 10 really, and just fighting to stay there and having very good runs for their teams. And it wasn't until the first round of starts where we started seeing some wheel moving and shaking. We saw Will Power jump up to second after pitting early for his first round of starts, and Takuma Sato and Helio Castroneves, who stayed out, kind of dropping back. Sato still held the lead though from Power until lap 31, when Power into turn 1 went round the outside of Sato. Very wide turn 1 it is at St. Petersburg, before it gets tight for turn 2, and Power on the outside in 1 had the inside for 2 and grabbed the lead from the Japanese driver. And we won't see Power again until cautions started to fall. And those cautions fell on lap 76, when Charlie Kimball, who was in last and really struggling, just outbraked himself into turn 1 and gently touched the tyre bands on the outside. So after the 5-lap caution ended on lap 82, controversy happened. Will Power, who was told by race control to be slow until the acceleration line on the entry to the pit lane, he was told to just be slow there and then accelerate. Race control though showed the green light or green flag before that acceleration zone, and so he kind of caught out the midfield and people nearly back of the pack, such as unfortunately Jack Hawksworth ending the Britain's brilliant run for Brian Herter Autosports. And as he spun, he collected Marco Andretti, who was having a horrible run for Andretti Autosport, just falling down the order. Also, Carlos Munoz was involved and unfortunately had to pit, and he dropped down the order as well after having a very good run himself. And so after another 3-lap caution there, on lap 87 it went green again, and Will Power led the rest of the way to grab his 22nd IndyCar Series victory and to lead the championship, something he hasn't experienced for quite a long time in the series. But he did grab his third win on the trot, and he's looking quite ominous for the rest already, with Power in such great form and continuing his great form from last season. Ryan Hunter-Reay was second for Andretti Autosport, another solid start to a season from the American. Hayden Evans was third, with Scott Dixon having a quiet run in fourth, ahead of Simon Pagenaud, who kind of quietly worked his way up the order from 14th. Tony Kanaan dropped to 6th in the end, but it was another solid start to the season. And no top 6, you could all say they're championship contenders. It really is going to be tight at the top this season. Paul Sato ended up in 7th after his runs on the harder black tyres just did not work out. Justin Wilson moved up from 16th up to 8th for Dale Coyne, and with Dale Coyne having kind of qualifying woes with Wilson, he seems like he might do that a lot this season. But he who fought the most from the back was Joseph Newgarden, from 22nd up to 9th. An impressive run from the young American, especially with some great moves, especially on Ryan Briscoe near the end to grab 9th. Briscoe rounded out the top 10 ahead of Sebastian Zaveja for KVSH Racing, and then you had the leading rookie Mikhail Aleshkin for Sam Smith Motorsport, the first Russian in series history, and he did a very solid job on his rookie race. He was ahead of Bourdais, who got a penalty for not packing up properly on the first restart, and so he had to pit and drop down the order. And we also saw Juan Pablo Montoya finish 15th after having gearbox issues, and Mike Conway in 16th for Ed Carpenter Racing after having a brilliant run, working his way up the order from his 12th starting spot into the top 5, but unfortunately under the first caution he didn't come in like with the rest of the pack, and it was a miscommunication or something, but he led the lap, came back in and was near the back, and unfortunately couldn't make moves in the latter parts of the race and ended up in 16th ahead of the unfortunate Munoz, and Carlos Hertz having a good run on his rookie debut for Dale Coyne after his late addition to the team, and he did no testing with the team, so he did very well to keep it on the island for the whole race. And then we had the disappointing James Hinchcliffe in 19th and Charlie Kimball in 20th, 2 laps down at the end. And so it was an interesting start to the year, not the most entertaining. There were certainly some moves in the midfield though, in which we unfortunately missed, I think, in the coverage, but it was a very solid start to the year for IndyCar, and I'm sure it's going to get better at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, which we're going to look ahead to now. So before we look ahead to Long Beach, let's have a little bit of a focus on the rookies and their first race in the IndyCar Series. Well, for a couple of them anyway. We saw Jack Hawksworth at Brian Herter Autosport perhaps be the most impressive rookie. Even though he wasn't the highest qualifying rookie, he qualified 8th, wasn't the highest finishing rookie because he got taken out. He did show himself in the race to have a very strong run, running in the top 10 or thereabouts for virtually the whole of his race. It's unfortunate he got caught out at that restart, or else no doubt he would have been in that top 10. Also, Carlos Munoz qualified ahead of him in 7th, and the Colombian who finished 2nd in the Indy 500 in his first race in IndyCar last year. He also drove in Toronto and at the season finale at Fontana, but he's shown himself to have another strong run here where he's just on the outskirts of the top 10, unfortunately, until he got caught out in that restart along with Hawksworth. So maybe it's just inexperience, or they just got caught up by that green light being shown before the acceleration zone. But the two rookies who did finish, Mikhail Aleshkin, he's been a very experienced rusher, very experienced in Europe. He's never been quite able to make the jump up the GP2 because of money issues, but he's been in Formula Renault 3.5 for a long time and won that series in 2010. And so no doubt he's got some talent, and hopefully in his new environment in America he can finally show some of it again after a couple of years just fading into the midfield in Formula Renault 3.5. And so he finished 12th for Sam Smith, and it was a very solid run. A run of kind of experience, I would say, experience beyond his years of experience in the IndyCar Series. And behind him was Carlos Hertos, the Colombian, who again was in Formula Renault 3.5 last year, actually won a race in there. But again, he finished in the midfield in the final standings, and he was drafted in very late into that Dale Coyne seat. He's done no testing with the team. First time he drove an IndyCar was in practice here at St. Petersburg. So to qualify not at the back in 17th, take advantage of the weather and qualify ahead of established guys such as Montoya, Hinchcliffe, Kimball, Rahal, Newgarden, and then to finish in the race around in 18th, I believe. He did a very solid job just to keep it on the black stuff, and in the end, a great job just to have no incidents and just keep his nose clean throughout the whole of the race. I'm sure he'll get better once he gets more familiar with the car as well. And so the rookies had a very strong start to their careers in the first IndyCar Series race. But as we know with rookies, sometimes it can be up and down for them, as we saw with Munoz even last year in his 3 outings with Andretti Autosport. So maybe in Long Beach, don't expect as much from them. But again, it's another street course. Again, expected to be more action-packed, to be more incidents as well. So maybe look for one of them to poke their head above the sand and show themselves as a star for the future. So let's now look ahead to the Grand Prix of Long Beach. So the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach is celebrating its 40th anniversary in 2014. Its first event on the streets of Long Beach, devised by Christopher Pook, who was the founder and promotion of the event, and it's kind of turned into America's Monaco, they say. And so in 1975 it started with a Formula 5000 race, which was won by a Briton, Brian Redman, who won a couple of Formula 5000 titles as well when he was in America. Then starting in 1976 it was a Formula 1 event until 1983. And in that last event in 1983 we saw the lowest ever starting position for a race winner. John Watson in his McLaren started 22nd, his teammate Niki Lauda was 23rd, and they fought their way through the field, survived the carnage to finish 1st and 2nd in the race, with the Northern Irishman grabbing his last win in Formula 1. And on 3rd on that podium was René Arnoux in the Ferrari 126C2B, the only turbocharged car to ever finish on a Formula 1 podium at Long Beach. Then starting in 1984 till 2008, it was a kart Champ Car event. It was quite an entertaining Champ Car weekend as well, because apart from the Champ Car you had the likes of the Formula Atlantic, you had American Le Mans Series, and also the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race as well. And in 2008 it was the last ever Champ Car event, with Will Power winning that occasion. Then starting in 2009 it became an IndyCar Series event, and it has begun to be that event until maybe 2015 at least. But recently Long Beach has announced that it's going to offer a 3-year extension to IndyCar, and then maybe open itself up to other series from 2018 onwards, including a certain Formula 1 series run by that Bernie fella. But Long Beach has been kind of a staple on the American open wheel racing calendar in its 40 years, and it is one of the biggest events apart from the Indy 500 on the IndyCar Series calendar. It's held in Long Beach, California, where it's mostly sunny for all the time. The race distance 157.440 miles, 253.375 kilometers. It holds 80 laps and is a 1.968 mile circuit, 3.167 kilometer circuit. It's changed over the years, but in its current form it has 11 turns, including one of the tightest turns on the calendar, that hairpin, the last turn where you just go right, and if you miss it you're probably going to go into a barrier. The most successful driver here is Al Unser Jr. with 6 wins, and the most successful team is Newman Haas Racing with 6 wins as well. Most successful manufacturer is Lola with 11. And we've got quite a few winners on the grid. Last year Takuma Sato grabbed his first win in the IndyCar Series for AJ Foyt. Before then we saw Mike Conway grab his first win in the series as well in 2011 for Andretti Autosport. We've also seen the likes of Sebastian Bourdais dominate in Champ Car in the mid-thousands, and he holds that record around this place with a 1:06.886 in his Champ Car in 2006. We also have old winners such as Helio Castroneves, who won it back in 2001, and before that Juan Pablo Montoya won it for Chip Ganassi in 1999. So we've got a spread of winners here, and it's going to be a very interesting race, and it should be a more entertaining race as well, as turn 1 really does offer a passing opportunity, especially if you get a great run out of turn 11. Apart from that, you got maybe turn 9 to look for a passing spot, or even turn 8, as after turn 7, which is a kind of a tight left-hander, If someone just makes a little error, you can dive down the inside into turn 8. But be careful, the tyres are on the outside, it's a very tight corner. And so that is the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach and its 40th anniversary today. So who's going to win? Well, I might go for that Will Powerberg. He's kind of on a run at the moment. 3 wins on the trot in the series, and he is just very strong on these road and street courses still. And he is very strong in the ovals now as well. But look out for maybe James Hinchcliffe to bounce back after a disappointing St. Petersburg race. And look for, of course, Bourdais as well with KV-SH Racing. Look, he's settled into the team very well. And for a dark horse, maybe look for Jack Hawksworth, who's very strong for Brian Herter Autosport in the last race, in his first race in IndyCar, and he seems to be quite handy around these street courses. And so maybe look for the Englishman to be right up there and hopefully get a top 10 finish this time, which he really did deserve in his first race last time out. So that's a bit of a look ahead to the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Now let's look ahead to the end of the month and the Grand Prix of Alabama. So the Grand Prix of Alabama, or the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, is held at the Barber Motorsports Park road course in Birmingham, Alabama. It's always been held in April since it's been on the IndyCar Series calendar since 2010. Before then it was actually tested out in 2007 to see if it would be on the 2009 calendar. Unfortunately it missed out after the reunification of open wheel racing meant the likes of Long Beach and Toronto came to the calendar but not Barber. But then in 2010 it reapplied again, and after a test in 2009 with all the teams and drivers, it was added to the calendar finally. And Barber Motorsports Park is actually kind of designed for motorbikes originally, and that's why it's quite a tight circuit, but it's a wonderful circuit with wonderful undulations and long radius corners. It has 90 laps in the race. It's 214.2 miles or 344.7 kilometers. The track is a 2.3 mile, 3.7 kilometer, 16 turn track, and it's a very tricky 16 turn track as well. The main passing spot is probably into turn 4 or 5. It has a run out of turn 3, then a little kink through 4, and then down the hill into 5 into a tight left hand hairpin. You can also make moves into turns 9 or 10 if you're called Charlie Kimball, or even turn 11 and 12, where Kimball passed Will Power around the outside last year to an impressive top 5 run. And if you can maybe get a good run out the last corner, you can maybe even have a look into turn 1, which kind of goes down the hill, a bit like the turn at Istanbul in Turkey, just a bit smaller in size. And so this track has traditionally been a Penske stronghold. Will Power's won twice here, but it's Harry Cashinevich who won the first event in 2010. And then Penske's reign of winning all these events at Barber ended last season, with Ryan Hunter-Reay winning for Andretti Autosport. And so I'm looking to Hunter-Reay again to be very strong this season, but of course you've got the Penske pair of Power and Cashinevich, and maybe even Montoya, even though it's a new course to him. Maybe he'll show himself to be handy, and he's dusted off that rust from the early part of the season from those first 2 races. But also look out for other Andretti Autosport cars such as James Hinchcliffe, and of course Chip Ganassi as well, with Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, and Charlie Kimball, who I said had that impressive run last season. For dark horse, maybe look for Simon Pagenaud. He's not really a dark horse anymore, but maybe at this course he would be, because as I said, there's lots of guys ahead of him who I would pick to win this event. But Pagenaud seems to always perform nowadays. He's a very consistent driver, and I expect to at least see him in the top 5. But even for a darker horse, how about Graham Rahal? He has not had much luck in about a year, but I would like to see him finally get some luck and finally get some good finishes again. It's been a long time since he's been on the podium in IndyCar. I think it was Long Beach last year was his last podium. So maybe not for Rahal to get into the top 10, but this is more me hoping rather than what the team looks like. They have looked like they just struggled at the start of this season, but maybe it all come together at Barber. And so that is my preview of the April events in the IndyCar Series, and I do apologise for it being quite late as well. But I'll be back with a look ahead to the month of May and a look back at the April events in IndyCar with Long Beach and of course at Barber Motorsports Park as well. But so that's out for watching, so till next time, cheerio.